Hello. Oh no, I have dirt. Okay, it's raining out. I went to my parents' house. I'm social distancing outside, but they have a really good garden. So I want to show you some types of leaves so that you know what you're doing for your lab notebook. And I didn't want to wait till it's not raining because I know you need to do this now. Okay, so two main types of leaves, sessile and petiolate. That's at least what we're looking at. So let me show you petiolate, which are relatively more common first. All right, this is a humongous leaf, and there's the blade. Here is the petiole, and this is the stem. Now, how did I know that this was the leaf and this was the petiole? Because I'm looking for what's called an apical, an axillary bud. So, if you look here, and my finger here is the stem, and then my left finger here is the petiole or the leaf. It doesn't matter if it's a petiole or the leaf. Right in the crook of those is where, right in, I can't point to both at the same time. In here is where you have this axillary bud, not auxiliary, axillary, because in anatomy, if you've taken that, axillary or axilla is your armpit, because you know your arm makes with your trunk that same sort of crook. Okay, so we're looking right there. Axillary buds have meristems in it, and they help the plant grow bushier. So this is a very, very large axillary bud. You can very clearly see it here. And so that, wherever that is the leaf then. So this is a petiolate leaf. This is a single leaf here, not a compound leaf, all right? Okay, so. Then we have something along the lines of this. This is an orange tree. It's a little more subtle, so I want to show you. So we're looking here, and I want to know, is this a leaf or not? So you see there, right there, that's the axillary bud, and you can see that there is something there. So that means this is the petiole, and this is a leaf, just a single leaf by itself. If the plant's a little bit older, or you look closer to the main stem, you'll actually see that sometimes you just don't have the bud, you actually have something growing out. So the axillary bud, so here's the leaf, and you can see where the axillary bud was, now is growing a new branch. And so that's one thing that might grow out of an axillary bud, a branch. Another thing you might see growing out of an axillary bud, instead of the axillary bud itself, so this is a small one, but you can see it actually if you look, I'll go back a little bit closely in here. It's a tiny little bump, so you have to look real close. But sometimes what you have growing out of there are leaves. So a leaf is another thing that can grow out of axillary bud. So you see that leaf growing, this little leaf growing right in the crook of the big leaf. Let's see if I can get a better one. Here we go. Here's just a easier to see one. So there's a leaf, and then you have this new little leaf growing here. It's not going to grow into a branch. These don't branch, these snapdragons, but there's the new leaves. And yeah, so that tells me this is a petiolate single leaf right here. You'll also see here's another example of at that axillary bud, you have a new leaf growing. So that tells you that this is the leaf. What about Okay, so now we're going to look at an example of a compound leaf. So compound leaf means, so we're trying to decide, are each of these leaves or not? So if we look, and they can look different, but if we look here, we're not seeing apical, axillary buds, but very clearly in this plant we can see an axillary bud there. And so what that means is that this is the petiole, that's the petiole, and then this is actually one single leaf. So, well, the petiole included. So this is leaflets is what you call them. So this is a compound leaf because you have a bunch of leaflets, but it's really just all one leaf. So that's one way that could look. You might not actually see the axillary bud because it grew into something. So see here, and then you've got the crook, and you have another branch growing out from it. So that means that this whole thing is the leaf here, and it has little leaflets on it. And so that is a compound leaf as well, and that would be the petiole. All right, now we have this plant here, okay, and we want to know, is this a leaf or is this whole thing a leaf? And so what we're going to do is, I'll look here first. You can see in there, see a little bump? So that is the axillary bud, which means that this whole thing must be the leaf. So here's another type of compound leaf you might have, where it has these on the sides. So each of these is a leaflet, and this whole thing is your compound leaf. You can have compound leaves that branch into compound leaves, so those are called double compound. You might see those. And then you have non-petiolate leaves. So the example here, they're called sessile. So you can see they kind of just grow out sometimes in kind of whorls. Often you see those in monocots. And so they don't actually have a petiole. But So they would be considered sessile leaves. One more thing while I'm here. Okay, so this is a type of rose bush. So let me show you this thing, which you'll see now is called a prickle, not a thorn. So that, and then also, you know, they're like, this one's dead, but there's littler ones at the ends. You guys know what roses look like. So there's the little prickers. Here we go, there's some good ones. All right, so those are actually called prickles. You see they're growing all over the stem. If you start paying attention to flowers, you're going to actually notice that all the flowers come from axillary buds. So the sepals are up here. This is a little leaf. That was the axillary bud. And so this is a flower. So flowers, leaves, branches all grow from axillary buds. And then one more thing. Now these structures that stick out are actual thorns. So thorns are the fourth thing that can grow out from an axillary bud. So you'll see every thorn is growing where a leaf is. So these are single leaves. There's a thorn, there's a thorn, there's a thorn. Now you might see some where they're not like with a leaf anymore, and that's just because a leaf fell off. That's true of branches as well. You're not going to always see the leaf with it anymore, but there's thorns. So thorns are actually part of the vascular system. They have xylem and phloem, whereas those prickles are just epithelium, just the kind of like the outer layer there. So those are some differences between thorns and what a real thorn is and prickle. And then the spines are like cacti with those long, skinny leaves. So those are modified leaves. These are parts of stems, and those are modified leaves. While I'm here, I'll also show you a stolon. So a lot of our grass has stolons, the type of grass we have here. So you know when you pull it up, it comes up in these like sort of, I don't know how to say it, but these are the stolons or runners. And you can see actually that they put down little roots. So each of these could become its own little plant. So that's a modified stem that runs across the ground as a way of they can asexually reproduce. So here's another plant, sessile leaves, and then we also have runners on this, so these modified stems, and you can very clearly see the roots here in this little plantlet, which if it was not on a wall, they'd be putting these down into the ground, and then you'd have new plants growing. All right, so that's some leaf and some stem modifications since I saw those, and if I see anything else to post, I'll do that in a separate one.